You've got Tim Walz. Okay, Jen Psaki, she's a talking head, whatever. But Tim Walz was recently the vice presidential candidate on the Democratic ticket. Maybe you'd expect a little better, a little higher in terms of the rhetoric. You would be disappointed. Here
Walz
is
himself, who has said that free speech and the First Amendment is a privilege and that it does not apply to misinformation and disinformation.
What if I told you Minnesota's own Governor Tim Walz might have a scandal hiding behind that friendly image? Picture Megyn Kelly and Tulsi Gabbard teaming up like a surprise duo, digging into a secret that could shake things up. This isn't your average politics. It's real drama. Popcorn required.
Morning and you doom scroll through things, and although I will say this, the last few days you woke up thinking there might be news. Just saying. There will be news sometime, just so you know, there will be news.
Look at him. So chipper. Don't worry, there will be news. In other words, Trump will die. Something to look forward to. The absolute nerve, especially with a president who was subjected to at least 2 assassination attempts and just dodged death in recent history, to the great relief of every...
Before we dive in, don't forget to like and subscribe so you stay in the loop. Governor Tim Walz has built a reputation as Minnesota's hometown hero. Part teacher, part coach, all heart. He's painted as the picture of small-town values. But when Megyn Kelly and Tulsi Gabbard started asking tough questions, that polished persona started to show cracks, revealing something far less idealistic beneath the surface. This story might just surprise you.
And just like the choice in this election is between the warmongers of Kamala Harris and Dick Cheney and the anti-warmongers of Donald Trump, Tulsi Gabbard, and Bobby Kennedy, this election, too, is about free speech and those of us who believe strongly in it, even for those that we disagree with, and Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, who are against free speech.
You know those wax figures at tourist spots that seem real until you get too close? That's kind of like Tim Walz's public image. Polished but unsettling up close. Megyn Kelly didn't buy the act. She saw warning signs everywhere and called out the familiar pattern of politicians posing as everyday folks while playing a very different game behind the scenes. It's a story we've seen before, but not like this.
Let's get to Tim Walz, who, just when you think no one's sitting at this table, neither she nor the big white blanket, can embarrass themselves any further, he does. She asks him, to her credit, about the carrying the weapons in war, which we know is a lie. He never served in war. He's been stealing valor for quite some time. And take a listen to this answer.
You said that you carried weapons in war, but you have never deployed actually in a war zone. A campaign official said that you misspoke. Did you?
Well, first of all, I'm incredibly proud. I've done 24 years of wearing the uniform of this country.
She goes after Walz's nice guy image like a cat chasing a laser pointer, relentless and sharp. Every time he flashes a feel-good backstory, she tears into it. Walz has leaned hard into being the face of Minnesota nice. But when real leadership is needed, that charm starts to wear thin and cracks begin to show.
I'm interested in hearing your point of view as a Democrat. How did Democrats and somebody who just has a hard time voting for Donald Trump, how do you think they approached this, and what do you think they came away with?
I think that anyone who watched with an open mind, sincerely interested in listening to what both J.D. Vance and Tim Walz had to say, probably came away with a very different and positive impression of J.D. Vance, as well as the policies that he and President Trump are putting forward.
It's like claiming your chili's homemade, but really it's canned with a bit of parsley on top. Megyn sees through that. She calls out how Walz shifted from portraying himself as a down-to-earth moderate to suddenly rebranding as a bold progressive, raising questions about what's real and what's just for show.
This took chutzpah. Let's go through it. You said you carried weapons in war, but you've never deployed in a war zone. A campaign official of yours said you misspoke. Did you? Well, I'm proud, incredibly proud of my record. He keeps doing this. Equally proud of my service in the classroom. Did I mention I was a teacher and a coach, an assistant coach? Okay, whatever. But he's more stolen valor. In the classroom, I'm in the classroom. My record speaks for itself. It doesn't, actually. You've put a lot of lies into that record that you've been called out on by service personnel.
And not in the natural, I learned and grew way, but more like, I checked the polls and picked a new costume. Walz changes personas faster than a Marvel shapeshifter every election cycle. While Megyn Kelly methodically peels back the layers, Tulsi Gabbard charges at his record with force. She digs into his handling of protests, policing, and public safety, exposing a leadership style that feels improvised and unsteady. Walz likes to flash his military service like a badge of honor, but Tulsi, a veteran herself, can spot when someone's overselling. It's like that guy at the gym who brags nonstop, but suddenly has a mystery injury when asked to prove it.
Contrast that with what we hear from Kamala Harris, what we heard from Tim Walz, who had a really, really tough job tonight trying to defend Kamala Harris and Joe Biden's disastrous policies. But what we've heard from Kamala Harris and Joe Biden over the last 4 years is how great Bidenomics is, how when you look at the data, the economy is better. And they're so arrogantly dismissive of the reality of the struggles of so many Americans across the country who are dealing with the higher cost of prices in almost every aspect of the basic necessities.
Tim Walz's carefully curated image as a principled, hometown leader is facing serious pushback as Megyn Kelly and Tulsi Gabbard, coming from opposite ends of the political spectrum, join forces to dismantle what they argue is a hollow brand built on optics, not substance. Walz's frequent nod to his military background, which once lent him credibility, now feels more like strategic resume padding, especially when Tulsi, herself a veteran, calls out the difference between service and self-promotion. While Megyn tears through the PR-friendly narrative with media savvy and sharp scrutiny, Tulsi pounds away at the record itself, revealing inconsistencies and hesitation in Walz's leadership during key moments like civil unrest and public safety decisions. Together, they strike a chord that sounds a lot like, "Your image is fake, and your leadership is weak." They're not uncovering a scandalous secret, no offshore accounts or secret families, but something arguably worse, that his entire brand may be a calculated performance. Walz sells himself as a rock-solid leader, but under pressure, he bends with the political winds, becoming more of an inflatable tube man than a steady figure. And now that he's on the national radar, the stakes are higher. In state politics, you might skate by with rehearsed speeches and polished sound bites. But when your name enters national conversations, as Walz's has, figures like Megyn and Tulsi show up with magnifying glasses and popcorn, ready to take your record apart piece by piece. Walz claims he speaks like regular people, but critics argue that behind the relatable tone lies a chameleon-like politician who shifts stances based on polling data rather than.
As your campaign had tried to do, and now you appear to be distancing yourself from that clarification. And then here's two pieces of this that are really... I speak like they do. People are coming to get to know me. I speak like they do. I speak candidly. I wear my emotions on my sleeves, and I speak especially passionately about, and then he goes on to blame it on the school shootings. I guess he was upset about school shootings, so he lied. But stop saying you speak like we do. I speak like regular people. What kind of bullshit is that?
Conviction. One day he leans tough on crime. The next, he's knitting progressive talking points on stage. It's not growth, it's an identity crisis. As Megyn points out, you can't trust a chameleon you've seen change colors too many times. She compares his leadership style to an etch-a-sketch, shake it once and the whole image disappears. Meanwhile, Tulsi doesn't stop at words. She brings receipts. While Megyn dismantles the narrative, Tulsi details how Walz's leadership during crisis moments often amounted to hesitation and poor judgment. His background as a teacher and coach is a central part of his pitch, but Tulsi notes that leading a football team doesn't prepare you for governing during national emergencies. This isn't Friday Night Lights, and the stakes aren't a state championship. They're real lives, real crises, and real leadership. Under pressure, Tulsi argues, Walz folds faster than a lawn chair at a family reunion. The takeaway? Walz has mastered the art of appearing to be everything to everyone, but in the process, he's become nothing solid to anyone. He's the political version of store-brand cereal. It technically does the job, but no one's excited about it, and the second something better shows up, it's forgotten. And in this new political spotlight, that might be the most damaging truth of all.
We saw Tim Walz, who I think he's done virtually one interview, a puff piece with CNN and Kamala Harris by his side. And I think he had a tough job, again, of trying to defend Kamala Harris's record and did not meet the mark of even trying to make their case to the American people in a very compelling and clear way.
Then there's the military angle. And this is where Tulsi Gabbard delivers the sharpest blow. Tim Walz often leans heavily on his veteran status, crafting a narrative of discipline, service, and honor. But Tulsi, a combat veteran herself, isn't buying it. She cuts through the carefully packaged storytelling and sees a politician using his military background less as a reflection of service and more as a tool for political marketing. It's like someone who led summer camp games now calling themselves a survival expert. Technically true, but deeply misleading. Wearing the uniform doesn't automatically make someone a strong leader. And Tulsi argues that Walz's real record tells a very different story. While he's built a public image based on authenticity and trust, his actions, especially during moments of crisis, reveal a leader who bends with pressure, avoids hard calls, and hides behind platitudes when real decisions are needed. That's why the Megyn-Tulsi dynamic hits so hard. Megyn shreds the image, exposing the surface-level branding, while Tulsi goes straight for the foundation, showing the cracks in his leadership. Together, they're not just challenging a governor, they're dismantling the image of someone being floated as a potential national figure. And with that kind of attention, the stakes couldn't be higher.
We don't lie about military service we didn't actually perform, like going to war. We don't steal valor by saying that we had a higher rank in the National Guard than we did. We don't run around saying we served in operating enduring freedom in Afghanistan when we didn't. We don't stand and watch somebody say that we were in combat in Iraq when we weren't. You don't blame it on us. Don't pull us down to your lowest common denominator of falsehoods. We don't behave like that. You do. And you're asking for the second most powerful position in the nation. You want us to put you there. You can't even be honest about the lies that you've told. We don't even get a straight explanation for what you said and why you said it. Be fine to do spin, but instead you want to say we all lie like this.
That's when the stakes really shift. It's one thing to fool your state with polished speeches and staged photo ops, but convincing the whole country you're more than that is another story. Imagine buying tickets to your favorite band, only to get Tim Walz awkwardly strumming an out-of-tune guitar while reading from note cards. Disappointing, right? Megyn and Tulsi stand like seasoned critics, warning everyone this show won't deliver. What looks like a heartwarming story is actually a blooper reel of missed leadership, political dress-up, and fumbled chances. Megyn exposes how every part of Walz's brand is staged but collapses under pressure, while Tulsi shows that in real moments, he consistently falls short.
I'm going to be honest with you in the audience. I watched him last night, and I thought he was amazing. He is a spectacular speaker. He had that rally in the palm of his hand. He's way more effective than she is or Joe Biden is. For the first time that I can remember, had like a feeling of fear rise up in my throat because I know what he's permitting in Minnesota when it comes to children, which, we talk about one of the defining issues of our time is that the way we treat our animals, for, our livestock, the way we kill them because we're going to eat them. That nothing compares to what we are doing to minor children.
The dark secret isn't some hidden scandal. It's that Tim Walz isn't who he claims to be. He's been auditioning for a role, hoping no one notices he forgot his lines. When Megyn Kelly and Tulsi Gabbard, two very different political voices, agree on something, it's serious, like a cat and dog teaming up to chase the same squirrel. They're exposing not just inconsistencies, but a pattern of leadership failure disguised as charm. As Walz polishes his Minnesota nice image, Kelly and Gabbard shout from the rooftops, "This emperor has no clothes, and not even a tailor."
Good evening. After a 2-day manhunt, 2 sleepless nights, law enforcement have apprehended Vance Bolter. That's 48 hours that law enforcement involved in a complex and dangerous manhunt. Spent Father's Day away from their families to deliver justice for Melissa and Mark Hortman and their children who spent this Father's Day alone. To the law enforcement who stand here and the hundreds who are involved in this, the state of Minnesota owes you a deep gratitude.
Here's the real kicker. Walz doesn't even realize how transparent he looks under the spotlight. Still playing Mr. Reliable, he fumbles through decisions like someone accidentally stuck in a boardroom, just nodding along. It's like bluffing through a group project without doing the work. Megyn Kelly spots this instantly, noting how he leans on personal stories, like high school football, to distract from failing policies. Meanwhile, Tulsi calls out his veteran status as PR padding, highlighting how his leadership often leaves others to clean up his messes.
Tim Walz has a bone to pick with you, my friend. He was out there campaigning with Beto O'Rourke. Okay, why? I don't, but he was out there having a town hall with Beto. And he sees the loss in 2024 very differently than you do, my friend. Here he is.
Our strength is our diversity. We've been talking about this for years as a country of immigrants, and we let them define the issue on immigration. We let them define the issue on DEI, and we let them define what woke is. We got ourselves in this mess because we weren't bold enough to stand up and say, you damn right we're proud of these policies. We're going to put them in, and we're going to execute them.
Lean in, he's saying. Lean in to all those messages. Sean agrees.
Together, Megyn Kelly and Tulsi Gabbard revealed a portrait of Walz he never wanted anyone to see. Not as a strong leader, but as a man skilled at dodging accountability. His dark secret isn't hidden. It's right in plain sight. The image simply doesn't match reality. As his name rises on the national stage, the cracks become impossible to hide. The nice guy act might work locally, but nationally, it's like showing up to a heavyweight fight in pool floaties. Megyn and Tulsi didn't just expose Walz, they dismantled the entire illusion, making it nearly impossible to see him without questioning whether his confident smile masks indecision, weakness, and constant political shapeshifting. Once that doubt takes root, convincing voters otherwise becomes a lost cause.